Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby here, bringing you the latest French end-of-line tank destroyer from the 7.4 public test server, the AMX 50 Foch. Excuse my pronunciation if I'm not getting it right. So here we can see a run around the vehicle. We see a lookout hatch on the top of the tank, which is very weak. We've done some testing. You have to hit the section which is directly over the tank. It's got a very powerful gun, equivalent of the T110 gun. I'm going to put one up here as a comparison so we can see the differences. So we know that the T110 rate of fire has been nerfed slightly in the 7.4 patch, which means that this tank is even better, considering its rate of fire and increased accuracy and increased aim time over the T110. So the significant rate of fire increase of over 1.14 rounds a minute, while it's still got very decent engine power and a great speed limit for not too much weight, which means that this tank can really accelerate rather quickly. It's got great transverse speed for a tank destroyer, and poor side and rear armor penetrated with HE opportunity, but it's got 180 frontal armor, which can provide some bounces. And we can fit a rammer and vents on this tank, which would be the standard choice for me. It's also able to put gasoline on, which I feel is quite important to maximize the speed opportunity of this tank. So that's enough of a garage review. Let's take a look at some gameplay. So here we are playing Corellia on the test server. This is one of the new game modes for anyone who this is the first time you're seeing 7.4. Take a look, you see on the minimap that one of the bases has a white flag on it and one of the bases has a black arrow on it. The white flag indicates that that team is going to defend, and the black arrow indicates that team is going to attack and where they spawn from. I'm blocking out the chat because there's a lot of very angry Russians on the test server. Not even Russians, some of the Europeans are complete idiots as well. There's a lot of swearing and just stupid things that we don't need to see. So we can see the acceleration of this tank for a tier 9 tank destroyer is not too bad. Already up to 40. So we're overtaking tanks like T-34s and now up to our top speed of 50 kilometers an hour. So on these defender maps, they have an RT advantage. They've got 4 artillery. I really want to get myself into a place where I can't be hit in this tank. It's got very weak side and rear armor, and the top of the tank is a giant target for artillery. So I'm trying to make my way into a place where I feel I can cut off one of the flanks, using the speed of this tank to be able to do so. So here we see I've managed to get into what I feel is a choke point. There are 2 choke points on this map, and the penetration of this gun was easily able to go through the 100 on the first shot. However, now he's angling. It's very hard to penetrate E100s when they're angled with credit ammo. And that's another disclaimer for this video, is that I wanted to do testing with credit ammo only. Cannot say the same for most of the other players on the test server. And so it's very hard to use the armor on this tank to its maximum when you know that some people are firing gold, and it's just not quite fair for testing purposes. So here we see me trying to penetrate his lower plate. Either I'm getting unlucky with my shells or it's just not going in. But again, we've stopped him in a good location. Artie probably can't hit him because of the rock. Trying to hit his front axle there. Hit me again for the lower plate with no luck. So when you hide your lower plate on this tank, it's very advantageous. However, we have a horrendous addition to the top of the tank, which is very easy to penetrate. We managed to get another one off into the E100. So here we can see a couple of scouts. This is where the great traverse of the Foch comes in handy. Other tier 9, well, at least the T95 wouldn't have been able to get round. These tanks would have been able to make fun of him. However, we can see that with some directional adjustments, we're able to take out both of these scout tanks. They took a fair amount of health from us though. So now we're going to get to see the great rate of fire of the Foch, which doesn't have an autoloader. It's just a standard loading mechanism, which some people could be quite angry about, I guess. People have become so accustomed to the French speciality being the autoloader. And if you watch my other video on the tier 8 French artillery, you'll see that that has an autoloader. However, the tier 9 tank destroyer doesn't. Whether having an autoloader on this tank would be fair is questionable. If they did, then they would have to have at least an overall rate of fire nerf, or at least, like the Bat Chat, have a minute-long reload, which could be very frustrating in a tank destroyer. However, I would have liked to have seen something like that. I'm not sure it was historically accurate or anything, but still, the 7.14 rate of fire, it does feel a bit like an autoloader in a way. So here we see trying to take out their Jagdtiger. The penetration on this is still good enough to go through upper plates of Jagdtigers. Also to say the superstructure. Although you're taking your chances, as we saw, a couple didn't go through there. So we see the great rate of fire of this tank. We're really able to decimate some targets. And if we can get them at the kind of range which we were at, then it's very hard for them to hit the weak points on top of the tanks. So there we must have hit the gun of the French tank. So we're just rolling round. We've taken out a fair few tanks. We're trying to get into a position to finish, even though we're defending. It might have been more sensible for me at this point, thinking back on it, to go and defend. However, I didn't have any free experience, and so I spent the best part of, must have been about 600 or 700,000 experience grind to get up to these two tanks for you guys. Even though it was 10 times, that still takes quite a while. It's a fairly solid grind. So we've taken out their artillery, and now we're against another Foch. So you can see the standard shell damage, 300 to 500. We're able to easily penetrate the side of his tank. However, we see him re-stealth there. I'm not using binoculars, which in hindsight is probably better than using a camo net on this tank. However, as we can see, its camo rating is pretty fantastic. I know he's behind the bush, just waiting for him to reveal himself, or the T-34 to come up behind him. I'm feeling fairly confident now. Just need to put one good one in him. I aim at his upper plate. It's unsuccessful. Looking back on this, this was one of my first games in the Foch. I should have aimed at his commander's hatch and not at possibly the strongest place of his tank there, which caused us to get shot. So I'm not going to show you the rest of the video. Basically, the rest of the team kill the Foch, and that's it. So what do I think of the Foch? It's great at medium to long ranges. When you get to have the front of the tank, it's got excellent rate of fire, which means that we can really decimate targets who decide to duke it out with us, a bit like a Jagdtiger. However, I feel at very long ranges, arguably its armor might not be quite as good as a Jagdtiger, because the superstructure on the Jagdtiger really can absorb fire from anything but the highest and most accurately, the most accurate guns. So I think overall the Foch sacrifices a bit of that armor capabilities for excellent speed, and yeah, it really works. It's a great tank, and I fully recommend it. So thanks a lot for watching my video, guys. I hope you check out my other 7.4 replays, and if you've enjoyed this, please feel free to subscribe to the channel, and if you've done so, please like the video. So I hope I've given you a bit of insight into the French tank destroyer line, and that once it comes to retail version, that you'll be able to make a decision whether you're going to bother with the grind or not. I think it's worth it. So good luck on the battlefield, guys, and I'll catch you later.